This past spring, the federal government announced that it would make zero-interest bonds available to local school districts for capital campaign projects. This is a one-time offer in conjunction with the federal stimulus package that will not be repeated. The total amount of bonds eligible for zero-interest status depends on how many school districts throughout the state pass bond issues. The school district won't know that amount until this spring, but it's estimated that the district could receive between $10 and $40 million in zero-interest bonds.
Let's say it's $30 million, and that is reasonable. That certainly could happen. But if it's $30 million, it saves tens of millions of dollars in interest that taxpayers won't pay.
To receive those zero-interest bonds from the federal government, the independent school board would need to approve putting a bond issue before the voters in November.
It's not the best time in the world to be pursuing a bond issue, but when you have a chance to look at what patrons might pay if we have to pay interest on bonds in comparison to having 0% interest bonds, it's like going out and getting a home loan for 0% interest.
A struggling economy is the reason the government has offered the zero-interest bonds, knowing that school construction would provide an economic boost when the area needs it most.
We're looking at, just in this area alone, around a 9% unemployment rate. The state of Missouri is closer to 10. The way that you get over this economic downturn is to create jobs.
According to the Greater Kansas City Building and Construction Trades Council, an $85 million bond issue would bring with it from 1,200 to 1,500 new construction jobs. Add to that 4.3 jobs supporting every construction job generated, and you have a major economic impact.
You need architects, you need engineers. In addition, you need all the people who manufacture the construction materials that you use. And again, the main advantage of this is we can make an investment in this community and make an investment in ourselves.
The investment would be in education. With student population on the increase and a large number of schools soaring over capacity, the need for new schools and/or school expansions has never been greater. Teaching is squeezed into areas not intended for classroom use. Areas are dual-purposed, and some teachers don't have classrooms at all.
When the schools are overcrowded, the classrooms are overcrowded, and some of the schools have no separate place for art and music. They have a little cart that comes by where they have their music and art on the cart.
The bond, in addition to giving students appropriate space to learn, would also allow the district to pay off lease purchases for HVAC upgrades.
Paying off the lease purchases will free up approximately $2 million from the school district's annual operating budget. This money, in part, will help protect teaching positions and the overall quality of education in the school district.
The independent school district was determined not to make one step toward issuing a bond without community feedback. School district leaders spent the summer speaking to community groups and asking people, is this something you want? In addition, surveys were sent out to the community at large, school district staff, and business leaders and independents. Overwhelmingly, the answer that came back from all groups was a resounding yes. 73% of those questions said they would support placing a bond issue on the ballot in November. Okay, so the second question was, how would you like the money spent? Option A, a new high school in Eastern Independence with few other school improvements. Option B, a new elementary school in Western Independence with expansions at elementary schools in Eastern Independence. Or Option C, new elementary schools in both Eastern and Western Independence and other school improvements. Surveys made it clear that parents, teachers, and community members preferred Option B or C. On August 24th, the Independent School Board passed a resolution that would put the bond issue before voters and agreed on Option C.
You as a community have chosen the option to build or acquire 2 new elementary schools in the Independent School District, one on the eastern side of the school district and one on the western side of the school district. In addition, we will prepay the lease purchases that we have in place, and there will be some additional money left over to have remodeling and renovation projects at a number of other schools in the Independent School District.
We are looking at doing some renovation in every building in the district, so we will touch every school.
Needs in the schools vary from new HVAC systems to new sidewalks to new roofs. Renovations at the high school level will include exterior upgrades and creating more classroom space.
At Truman and Crispin, there are 25 teachers who don't have their own teaching space.
At the high school levels, we're looking at doing some exterior renovation at all sites.
Total cost for someone whose house is valued at $100,000? $2.38 a month, less than a pricey cup of coffee. For a $50,000 home, cut that in half.
We're in a very competitive society. And whether you go to school in Independence or Blue Springs or Lee Summit, if you're moving to the community or you're contemplating which community you're going to live and you have kids that are going to go to school, you're going to go look at the condition of the facilities.
How our facilities look and serve students is up to you. On November 3rd, with your vote, you decide.